Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope the day is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Really do appreciate it. Bit of a quiet day today. Not going to be the longest of shows, I would imagine. But there is still some stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about Viktor Gyokeres, some pretty sort of dramatic reports coming out from Portugal about his situation and his potential move to Arsenal. His father in tears, apparently, about the prospect of that move not happening. Hopefully that doesn't come to pass, but we will have a look at what they've been saying. Of course, no Gyokeres on the flight that left for Singapore yesterday. That was certainly the hope a while ago, a couple of weeks ago. It's certainly what Mikel Arteta would have wanted, but it has not happened. Not on the flight. He is still wherever he is in the world at the moment on strike, not at Sporting, not training with Sporting, that's for sure. So we'll talk about him. We will talk about the flight to Singapore and the squad list. We'll look at who's gone, who hasn't gone as well. Got a few questions and comments from you guys as well to get stuck into on this Sunday morning. But we'll start with Viktor Gyokeres, shall we? Now, remember, this is a Sunday, which seems to bring Viktor Gyokeres news. The last two Sundays have really been fairly big when it comes to Gyokeres and a potential move for Arsenal. So we'll wait and see what today brings. At the moment, at the time of recording this, it is all quiet, barring, of course, as I said at the start, these reports that have come out from Portugal about the feeling around the move for Gyokeres. Okay, so these reports yesterday, if you haven't seen them, were that there is a feeling amongst people close, and this isn't me reporting, by the way, this is what they're saying in Portugal. There is a feeling among people close to the deal that it is beginning to feel like it might not happen, that it hasn't moved on at all, that it's in a complete sort of holding pattern, nothing's happening. And yeah, there's sort of a growing feeling that it might fall through, that they might not reach an agreement between Arsenal and Sporting. And the sort of the big headline grabbing piece of that report was that Viktor Gyokeres' father is apparently been brought to tears by what's going on and the sort of looming realization that Viktor Gyokeres might not get a move to Arsenal. Now, again, this is not what I'm reporting. This is what's being reported over in Portugal. And you have to kind of take that all with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because every single day something else seems to be reported. While over here, it's been eerily quiet since pretty much last Sunday, but certainly last Monday, when we had the big sort of jump forward where the agreement was reached in principle, and then it was all about sorting out the add-ons. And from then on, it's been pretty quiet. No one's really reported anything has moved forward. Whereas in Portugal, every single day, there seems to be another fresh report of something happening or something not happening. So we'll take it a little bit with a pinch of salt, and we'll see where this goes. Obviously, he's not got on the plane. He's not in the squad going to Singapore. And I think a lot of this summer was focused on achieving that. The fact that it's all really moved forward this time last week as well was a very clear indicator that Arsenal were trying to get this one wrapped up so that he would be part of the pre-season tour to Singapore. Hasn't happened. The negotiations Sporting continue, and we haven't seemingly had this breakthrough yet, which is a real shame. I know Arteta's going to be unhappy about it. There's no doubt about that. He would have wanted Gyokeres in this squad to get embedded in as early as possible. So that is a real shame. I would suggest that once these dealings are wrapped up, that Arsenal are not going to be that keen to negotiate with Sporting for a while yet. And who knows, it might be the other way around. Sporting might be not be very keen to negotiate with Arsenal for a while yet. I think both clubs are just going to want to distance themselves from each other once this deal hopefully does get done. I'm still in the camp at the moment, and this is me just maybe being a bit optimistic, whatever it is you want to say, but I'm still in the camp that this gets done, because I just think everyone's so far forward in it that if it doesn't, no one comes out of it in a good position. Arsenal don't get the striker they want. Gyokeres doesn't get the move that he wants, and he remains on strike. And Sporting don't get the money they want, and they get a player who doesn't want to play for him, who's refusing to play through him. And it's just going to be a really messy situation. So because of sort of adding that all up together, I still feel that we will get to a breakthrough. It's just unfortunate at the moment this breakthrough has not happened anywhere near as rapidly, I think, as we all wanted. So that's the latest when it comes to Viktor Gyokeres at the moment from Portugal, remember. Gunnar Greg has got in touch on the Inside Arsenal Discord chat and says, if the Gyokeres deal collapses, do we try and pivot to Watkins or sign both Eze and Simmons? have Trossard, Martinelli, Marino, and maybe Nwaneri rotate and back up. No, I don't see a way that you bring in Eze and Simmons. I think they just get in the way of each other. They're too similar and play in similar positions for that. I think if the Gyökeres deal were to collapse, then Arsenal would have to go out and sign a striker. I have no idea who that would be. Do they go back in for Sesko? I doubt it, because I can't imagine that price would have come down, and Arsenal don't seem to be very keen at even talking to Leipzig about the price that they're demanding. Watkins, I mean, Arsenal will be in a pretty bad position, I think, if Gyökeres deal collapses, because other clubs who they then go and talk to about strikers will know that Arsenal are in a bit of bad position because the striker they wanted hasn't moved, and suddenly Arsenal are left scrambling around, getting towards the end of the window, or certainly getting close to the start of the new season, needing to find a striker. So you're not in a very good negotiating position at that stage. I don't think it'd be a good position. And I wouldn't imagine Aston Villa would just be like, oh, fine, you can have Ollie Watkins for £30 million. They'll try and drive a really hard bargain, as anyone would if Arsenal come knocking. So again, that's why I still feel like the Gyökeres deal will happen eventually. But again, that is just a hunch. That's not based on any information that I'm being told of that it's definitely going to happen. But I'd be very surprised if you sign Eze and Simmons in the same window, especially when you've already signed Madueke. Oh, yeah, this is interesting. Obviously, Eddie Howe was talking yesterday. Newcastle got absolutely spanked 4-0 by Celtic in their first pre-season friendly. And Eddie Howe revealed afterwards that he'd sent Alexander Isak home from that because of all the transfer speculation. Did say that he still felt that Isak would be staying at Newcastle and he was happy there. But just that with all the stuff that was going on around him, he felt it was better to send him home. Mr. Quender has got in touch and says, wondering if you saw Eddie Howe left Isak out of the squad for their game and gave some comments about it. Any thoughts on this situation and the links to Saudi? Also wondering if it may have any links to our Gyökeres deal, because I struggle to believe the reports that the transfer has been held up by 5 million add-ons for over a week. I mean, any thoughts on the situation of Saudi? I mean, I cannot even begin to comprehend why Alexander Isak will go to Saudi. I know the money would be absolutely ridiculous and all that sort of stuff, but he's just absolutely made it towards the top of his game in Europe. He's still very, very young. I just don't see any way that he would give up the chance of playing Champions League football and go to Saudi. So I don't see that happening at all. In terms of does it have any links to what's going on with Gyökeres? I would be stunned. Look, I would be absolutely stunned. I think it's purely because of what's been going on with Liverpool. I can't imagine that the sort of delay in getting Gyökeres over the line is because Arsenal is suddenly going to make a move for Alexander Isak. Again, that's not based on any information. I don't have any information on that at all. But given Newcastle apparently want £150 million for Alexander Isak, and that's the number that they would maybe have had a discussion with Liverpool about, do you really see Arsenal paying that? I just can't see it. As much as I would love to see Alexander Isak at Arsenal, I cannot see a way that sort of money and that sort of transfer fee is anything that Arsenal could get close to in this summer. So I'd be very surprised, Mr. Quinde, in answer to your question. Right, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the squad picture here of the players who have gone to Singapore. You probably have to squint because they'll probably be quite small on your screen, I would imagine. But that was the picture taken at the airport before they left. It might have been the team hotel, actually. Can't quite work out where that was. But that was the squad picture. And here is the squad on the screen in bigger writing, if you haven't seen it already. Obviously, some youngsters there, some interesting ones. Josh Nichols, Marley Salmon, 15-year-old defender, very highly rated and liked at the club. Louis Copley's just signed pro forms as well. He's gone in as a midfielder. Cabia's gone. Dowman's gone. Of course, Harriman and Else has gone as well. So, and the goalkeepers, Rojas and Setford have gone. So quite a few youngsters. I remember having a question earlier on the week saying, do you think there will be many apart from Max Dowman? And I didn't think there would be. I thought he'd go quite, take a very senior squad over. But he has obviously taken a few youngsters to be involved in, which is good for them, great for them, absolutely. I remember speaking to a few agents who some of their youngsters went away on the trip to Dubai and they came back saying it was just absolutely brilliant for them. What an experience it was. So these lads are going to have a fantastic experience, I'm sure, over in Singapore, playing in front of all of those people as well. I'm sure they'll get some opportunities, some minutes at times in the games. But even if they don't, just being around the first team squad on tour, training, doing all the sort of team bonding stuff that Mikel Arteta will definitely do because he likes doing it when they go away on these tours. I think that's fantastic for them. In terms of the senior players, the big sort of player not there, obviously, is Cristhian Mosquera, who we spoke about in yesterday's show. See, the leak came out, the picture of him in his Arsenal gear doing his sign-in interview and all of that. But as I said yesterday, from what I understand, there are still a couple of things that need to be finalised before that deal is absolutely rubber stamp. There was a hope that maybe that could have been done yesterday before the flight, and so he could have joined them. It didn't happen, but that's not to say that this squad is the firm squad. If this deal can get ratified and can get finalised, which all signs are that it will, the Mosquera will jump on a plane and go out and meet the squad over there. It doesn't mean he has to stay here and wait for them to get back. Of course not. He can definitely do that, and he will do that if this deal gets finalised. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Mosquera goes over. Even if, going back to Gyokeres, even if that deal suddenly takes a massive jump forward and it gets done in the next 3 or 4 days, he could easily get on the plane and go out there. They've got a couple of games in Singapore, then they go over to Hong Kong for the Spurs game. So it'd still be well worth it. And I'm still pretty sure Mikel Arteta will push for that. But it is a shame on Mosquera, again, that hasn't been done in time for him to go on the tour. But as I said yesterday, just a couple of things still needing to be finalised and sorted out and ratified before that can be announced, confirmed, and he can be officially unveiled as an Arsenal player. Nick has got in touch on the squad who've gone over. He said, thanks for your daily pods, no problem. What can you tell us about the youngsters travelling with the squad to Asia? We know about Dalman and Setford, plus Nichols impressed last summer, but what about the rest? Anyone in particular that Arsenal are very high on? Well, when the sort of phrase of they are very high on, Arsenal, they think they've got a lot of very talented youngsters. Obviously, Max Dalman is the headline maker. He's way out ahead of everyone else of the sort of crop that's starting to come through. But they like Harriman and now, so there's no doubt about that. As I said, Marley Salmon is very, very highly rated, but he's just 15. It's still such a long way to go, especially as a defender, as a 15-year-old. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they get any minutes. Josh Nichols is an interesting one. What happens with Josh Nichols this season? Does he stick around? Does he go out on loan? Is there a potential of a sale even when it comes to Josh Nichols? He's a player we've all seen, we all like. Again, the club do like him, think he's very, very talented. But what's best for him at this point now, after kind of being on the fringes of the first team last season, getting a run out against, it was Bolton, wasn't it, in the League Cup, playing in pre-season as well. This is the second tour he's gone on now with Arsenal. So it'll be interesting to see what decision is made on him after the tour when they do come back. But yeah, they like Louis Copley as well. They've just given him a pro contract, but it's still so early with these guys. They're still so young. None of them are as far advanced as Max Dalman, obviously, who's kind of the special talent of the group that are coming through. So it's tough to really say much more than that. They like them. That's why they're on the tour. That's why Arteta wants them around the first team, because he thinks it'll be a really good experience. Do I expect any of these guys to really push for a first team spot this season in and around the squad? If you're going to push me on that, then no, apart from Max Dalman. This is an interesting one, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, the sort of budget that has been earmarked per Mertesacker to bring in and improve the academy with players that are coming in from outside. We've seen a couple of additions already. This is a really interesting story from about the Shamrock Rovers youngster, Ozhianvuna, who's 16 years old, attacking player, and really, really highly rated. Lots of clubs have been looking at him, and Arsenal are believed to be about to sort of smash the Irish record to sign him for about 1.8 million euros. 16-year-old attacker, Viktor Ozhianvuna, and because of Brexit rules, he won't be able to join until he's 18, so he'll spend another sort of 18 months or so in Ireland with Shamrock Rovers. He scored on his senior debut the other day, 16-year-old kid. And yeah, the reports are out now that he is about to sign. It's very, very close to coming to an agreement with Arsenal over this deal. And this kind of goes back to that. Arsenal, for the first time in a long time now, a really actually earmarked budget for Mertesacker and the academy recruitment team to go out and sign these talented young players from around the country, from in Ireland, obviously here. And Stephen Bradley, the Shamrock Rovers boss, was talking about it after the game at the weekend, and he says, I know Steve McPhail, who is sporting director, says he's right down the line with a club. That club is believed to be Arsenal. He is right there. Victor is a special talent. I think it's quite clear to see. You'll see that more and more as he goes on. There are so many more layers to him. He can play inside. He can be the 10. He can play off the right, off the front man. He's a special talent. Teams have watched Victor since he was 12. That team has travelled across Europe, played teams. So everyone knows him. All of the clubs, even though he hasn't been overly exposed over here in the first team yet, everyone knows him. You're going to see the kid get better and better. I love his attitude. Put him in the car park or on the pitch. He just wants to play. It's his ball. He wants it back. That's how he plays the game. So, yeah, interesting one, this. I think. And it's really good to see Arsenal making waves in academy recruitment because it hasn't happened enough in the last 5 or 6 years. And I think aside from the quality players who've come through at Hale End, that has affected the quality of Arsenal's youth teams, especially sort of under 21s level, I think. And the more you can bring these players in and bring them through, then I think that's just going to be good. And you're going to have a real sort of talent, even more of a conveyor belt of talent coming through to the first team. So yeah, interesting one. We also had the announcement, I can't remember the guy's name now off the top of my head, that Arsenal has signed the midfielder from Blackburn. I've totally forgot his name. But that came through yesterday as well. He's been really good midfielder for Blackburn for the last couple of years, coming through at under 18s level. Arsenal have signed him. So it's another one that's been added to the squad, added to the group. And I think that's really, really important at that youth level for Arsenal. I got a question on Patreon here from AR Ramesh, who says, is Timber actually fit? He was named in the squad. Are we risking him doing the same thing as last time when he came back and overplayed himself? Basing this on having had the most recent surgery. Is he fit? Yes, he is fit. Is he going to be fit enough to start the first games and really be heavily involved? Time will tell on that. I can't give a definitive answer from it. But, this surgery took place with view on him being back for pre-season. That was the aim. So I don't think he's been rushed back early by any means. This was always the target. That's why they chose to have the surgery when they did, so that he would be back in time for pre-season. I'm sure they're going to be careful with him. If there's any doubt, they'll be very careful with him at the start of pre-season. They'll probably up his minutes as the summer goes on. But in answer to your question, is he fit? Yes, he is fit. He's fit enough to be in the squad. He's fit enough to go over and be part of pre-season, which is fantastic. But again, I'm sure they'll carefully manage his minutes if there are any fears over it. But the aim when he had his surgery was that he was going to be back for this stage of the summer, and everything has gone well. So that's fantastic news. Just seeing yesterday in that picture, Timber and Ben White together fit for the start of pre-season, it was just one of the big things that I took away from that picture. It was like, it feels like forever since we've had those two fit at the same time together. I think that's such a boost. It was honestly one of the big things I took from that squad picture yesterday. And look, that's it from me today, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As I said, I'm recording this early doors on Sunday. The last couple of Sundays have been big Viktor Gyokeres days. Will today be the hat trick? We shall wait and see. Have a good day, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.